Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Sean Schoenmakers. I am the owner of ActionCOACH Dallas, where we are helping business owners build and grow their businesses, ultimately to improve their lives. Today we have Chris Smith on with us. Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you today?
Doing well. I appreciate you coming on. And Chris is the owner of Mojo Companies. He's going to tell us what that means and what they do and all the various other information that hopefully will be interesting, but also useful for the audience. So if you are a first-time audience person or member, first time watching one of these videos, make sure you like and subscribe, get notifications when we drop these conversations, continue to drop these conversations into the channel so you can continue to see all of the interesting insights and information from our lovely guests like Chris. And so, without further ado, Chris, can you tell us, maybe introduce us to your company and tell us the problems you guys solve?
Mojo Companies really consist of three main pieces. We've got Mojo Home Solutions, and that deals mostly primarily in large loss claims, insurance, commercial, residential, roofing, and construction. You're going to have Mojo Electric and Solar, which it's in the name right there. We deal with commercial electric, solar, battery backup, but we do it in a way that nobody else really does. Starting to come around. And then we have Mojo Elevators. So that's mostly maintenance, but also new installs when needed. And those three work together to form a vertically integrated grouping where they can work independently, but we also offer a full-on maintenance plan for mostly our commercial clients and residential, where we can address everything as a one-stop shop. And that provides a lot of value for especially our commercial clients.
Yeah, sounds pretty wide ranging in terms of the services you guys have at those three different companies. So,
Mhm.
um, tell us, how did it all get started? Well, maybe not all of it, but how and why is that Mojo Companies in existence? Sounds like you've split it up into few
Sure.
different companies. So how and why did you get this puppy started?
I started off in the solar sector. I had consulted for multiple companies, and I found an interest in solar and went to work for a company back during right before and during COVID in the commercial space. And while I was there, I noticed a major major problem in the solar industry. And a lot of it had to do with, even right now today, we're hearing all this in the Senate about the big, beautiful bill and the 30% tax credit. And that's all great. It's all wonderful. What I noticed was that 30% tax credit, amongst other things, wasn't really being passed to the consumer. This is something a lot of people who don't understand the ugly side of that industry that I noticed. And I was like, we can do this better and we can do it where it more benefits the customer, not only their pocketbook, and pass on those savings to them instead of the company taking it. Because make no mistake, that's what was happening across the board. Most companies were going, oh, 30%, government's going to give them that. Let's mark it up another 30 so that we can get that. That's a fact. And it was ugly. It was gross. And I saw that. I also saw a problem with the materials and the gear being more grid forming than customer forming, right? And when you're talking about residential, that's more intimate than commercial. These are people's homes, it's their bills, it's their finances. That's why they're making a decision usually for solar. And so we were doing things and taking technology that was different than the mainstream, and we were really raging against the machine, if you will, and helping our customers have control of their power and not just let the utility company put what they needed on their roof rent free, basically, and just, oh, we'll give you a little kickback. They're still
Mhm.
naming the price whenever you're playing that game. So we allowed our customer to build something different. That led to me merging and creating a roofing company because I was on so many roofs and I was passing them out. I was just passing them out like candy. We'd inspect every roof. I just passed them on to roofers. I noticed roofers were crazy. I'm like, we can do that better. And yeah, and I found a guy
Roofers are crazy.
that I respected and that I'd worked with and partnered with him in that area. And we started the restoration, and we also decided, hey, we can do this different, and we can do roofing because even in North Texas, Dallas Fort Worth, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of roofing contractors. It's the wild, wild west, a lot like solar. And we wanted to do something different. We saw rising deductibles, and so we put together a system where our customers can pay for a maintenance plan. But since we're solar and electric, We can check their panels, check their generator, check their EV charger, install anything new whenever they want it, check their roof and try to prolong the life of their roof, because what we're after is the long game. We're after a lifelong customer. And so on the residential side, we started that with the purpose of, hey, let's help people with those deductibles, with the rising cost of insurance, where they pay us for a maintenance plan, but whenever it's time to replace their roof, that money goes towards their deductible. That money goes towards actual cost replacement. So we lead with value. And on the commercial side, we had some doors open up, and that was really just luck, because there's not a lot of guys with that do elevators. You have to have very specific certifications, and you have to be able to respond at a certain time. You have a very specific tool set. So that landed in our lap. That was a blessing. And it was do we want to do this or do we not want to do this? And for our commercial, it really made a lot of sense to go, you know what, let's add that, because there's not a lot of players in this space. It's high yielding. There's a lot of return on it, but you have to have the right people in place. And we just so happen to have that with our electric. And so we started that up, where we can handle the maintenance, and those maintenance contracts really equal residual income for us, the owners. So we set things up very strategically to allow us to pivot to where something like the big beautiful bill and all the stuff that's going on with solar right now, it really doesn't affect us, because our core customer isn't just trying to get a 30% tax credit, and our price points are already reflecting that. We don't compete with the rest of the market. We march to the beat of our own drum, and our customers tend to be a different type of customer, looking for different things.
So I feel like I have heard, call it the dark side, about the solar industry for
Yeah,
years. I mean, years I've heard from various
yeah.
people that, oh, solar is dirty, it's crappy, and there's just a lot of complaints. What do you think? Like, why solar, or what allows it to continue? Is it just because it's newer, like generally newer? I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's not as,
Yeah, so it's newer. Like, let's be clear, solar works. Like, the
yeah,
mechanics of it works, right? So when
yeah.
people say solar doesn't work, well, if you're playing the game where you're simply trying to offset it and you're hoping that the utility company is going to give you a fair shake, that's the wrong game to play. You want control of your production. And most of the industry was backed by big money, got behind it. You call it Chinese money, you call it whatever you want. And it was pushing all of this through. And so you had the technology and the manufacturers, and you had sales teams. It created an ecosystem where it was going to be the wild, wild west. So it was great that, hey, the government's doing a 30% tax credit, but it wasn't, again, it was not the clients in most instances, not that it never was, but they're getting a system that feeds the grid, doesn't feed their house first,
Yeah.
and they don't even have the control to do so. And then you have salesmen who have what you call red lines. And so you've got a company going, hey, you can sell it for, just to clarify, you have per square foot in different industries. In solar, you have per watt, right? So you're going to be like, well, we can build it and we're making a profit. My company can make a profit at 250 a watt. Anything at 250 a watt and up, salesman go sell it. If you sell it for $4 a watt, you can keep it.
Hmm.
So you got salesmen out there
Yeah.
taking full advantage of people, selling a system that maybe costs, and this is real numbers. I was just having this conversation with someone just a couple hours ago on a real system that I saw. Poor old lady was charged for a system that shouldn't have cost maybe more than 20,000 to build, and she was on the hook for about 115 on a house that doesn't even have the roof space to put enough solar to fully offset her usage.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So
It's,
it's,
I think the word you used earlier was gross. That is pretty
yeah.
gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have salesmen who don't know anything except for what they've been told, out making the sell. The salesman leaves, they sign it, and it's all nice and pretty. They can come up with their cell phone and be like, "Hey, I can get you approved right now." So triggering on that, right? That human nature, that psychology of, "Oh, I'm approved? Yeah, let's do it." Man, and they're looking at, and it's just horrible the way that it goes. That's a lawnmower string that if I really go down it, we'll be
Yeah.
here the whole time, and I'll talk about it, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of layers.
Well, I appreciate the
Yeah,
insight, the input. And
yeah,
I feel like I've heard this from a lot of people in
yeah.
in that industry in particular.
When
So,
it's done right, it is very, very good for the customer.
yeah.
When it's done correctly, the problem is most of the industry that's been pushed the last 6, 7, 8 years, they wouldn't know what right is if it hit them in the face.
Yeah.
Most of the players. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, cool. Well, thanks for the insights.
Yeah.
So, next question for you. So who does, you mentioned commercial, you also mentioned residential. So who primarily does the business serve? I know you got a few businesses, but if I'm in the audience, how do I know if I'm a good fit for your service?
Yeah. So number one, on the residential side, just as a basic consumer, do you value your energy costs? A lot of our customers are actually more after we're a white glove service. The way we do everything is a lot more custom. We slow down to speed up. We educate. Most of our clients are people with higher end properties. They are looking for, but not all of them. They're not just looking to offset their solar and their energy costs. That's a bonus on top of being able to have control. They want control. They want to have battery. They want to have generator, and we put together an ecosystem for their home that allows them to have that. Where the utility is just bonus. What's coming from the utility company is, hey, if I use the utility a little bit, that's extra. That's bonus. Do you have an existing solar array that you're worried about? Does it work right? Am I getting what I should get out of it? I would like to add battery. How would I do that? Can I add generator? Most of our calls for residential are coming from that. Or, hey, I would like a maintenance plan where you can look at it, check my generator, check my solar, clean my solar. I'd like to add battery. We want to be a one-stop shop for you on anything that's related to that. And that bleeds over into commercial. On commercial, if you own a property, if you're investing in apartments or um, commercial buildings where you're going to house companies and you want to have your bills decrease. There's a lot of different applications where solar makes sense, and most of the time it's just a dialogue. We never hard sell. If someone has questions, we welcome that, and most of the time your CFOs, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And most of the time when we sit and have a conversation and show a few different options, most of those guys end up pulling the trigger once they
Yeah.
see it. Because once
Yeah.
you see it, you can't unsee it. It just makes too much sense. But it's not one size fits all. It's not just, hey, let's slap solar panels up and let's hope it offsets your bill. It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what makes your business unique? I think you've touched on a little bit of this already, but why do customers and clients, why do they choose you versus other companies?
More because we're one stop shop. We never hard sell. We educate, educate, educate. And the more we educate, the more people are like, okay, well, let me think, or they have questions. It's your home and it's your business. So if you're going to invest something like this, you need to know exactly what it is that you're doing. Not You don't need to be in a situation where you're only being told what they want to tell you, right? Because solar's not cheap. It's an investment that you're wanting. Your roof isn't cheap. These things we're talking about are not cheap. Your
Mhm.
elevators, I mean, that's big time insurance. You've got to keep those maintained because if somebody gets trapped in one of those or they break, you're in trouble. So we're a one-stop shop. That's a big part of it, but we educate and we're building the long term. We are looking for customers and clients who, a couple of years from now, it might be, hey, you want to go to the beach with us? So that's really, we still build that way. No matter how big we may get, we build on the premise of we want our customers to be our friends and we want to be who they call when they need something.
Yeah, I'm sure that
Yeah.
creates a lot of trust in those types of things as well, which of
Yeah.
course is a lot of what people are looking for, especially in the contractor world. So,
Yeah. And the deductible piece is huge. Our Mojo 365 for the residential side, nobody's offering that. It doesn't exist. And we want to provide solutions, and we're always looking to how can we provide solutions to pain points that our customers are dealing with and helping relieve that deductible with actual value. Like you're getting
yeah.
your solar panels washed, you're getting your generator cleaned. We're coming and checking on your roof and you're getting a full-on photographic file that you can send to your insurance company twice a year. We're caulking your stuff, we're checking the edges, we're giving you a full report, and you're getting all that for a quarterly low cost. But then whenever you've got to file a claim, it's like a deductible savings program.
Yeah.
People like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The we've worked with a lot of contractors and the maintenance piece, right, is if you look at the overall cost typically to the customer, if maintenance is being done, it's usually, I don't know the percent, a decent percent lower overall if you're doing
Yeah.
maintenance. But it's
Yeah.
like, but getting people into the mindset of, hey, sort of investing small amounts along the way so that you end up
Yeah.
better long term.
Yeah.
Again, some people are all about that, of course. Others are like, well, I want to save, save, save. It's like, okay, well, you're not
Yeah.
really saving yourself,
Yeah.
you're costing yourself, but
Yeah.
whatever you prefer.
Yeah,
So,
we want
uh,
to be your guys that you trust, and the deal is it's your investment. We want to prolong the life of what you have
yeah.
until you need to replace it, and at which point we'll tell you need to replace it. But unlike a lot of contractors out there, we're not just going to come in. We don't want you. We don't want you as a customer one time.
Yeah.
We want to have you for a long time. So we'll tell you, solar's not for you right now based on everything you're telling us, or hey, no, your roof doesn't need to be replaced. It's fine. Now's not the time to do it. You don't need to spend that money and go through it. We can patch a couple of things, or we can caulk this, tarp that, whatever. It's like we can make repairs versus
Yeah.
replacements, and it'll last another 3 or 4 years, unless you get hammered again.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
prolonging the life of their investment is our focal point.
Yeah. Sounds good. What about from a marketing perspective? Obviously, various reasons why your customers and clients choose you. What would you say? Because marketing is a struggle for various businesses out there, getting those leads, the phones to ring, basically. What would you say has been the number one marketing strategy that's brought you guys the most business?
Well, number one, as owners, in again, I used to consult, and you see owners fall into a pit of they get going and they're working on the business, and they're working in it, and they're everywhere. They're all over the place. But when they start hiring, they'll fall into a pit of like, well, I need to get my guys to do it because I got a lead. I have to duplicate myself. That has to be handled very, very tactically. You can never get to a place, I think, when you're a smaller company of thinking that you're above shaking hands, kissing babies, and building relationships, even if you have a wonderful sales force. So that's number one. Remember, like dance with the one who brung you. A lot of times your business has been succeeding because of you. Now, we all want to build to a point where I can take a vacation and be gone for 3 months and it's going to keep on humming, but you don't just get there overnight. You don't start a company, or it's like, what's the number? Is it 2 million? Is it 5 million? Is there people think that it's this magic number or like a milestone, and it's you have to have a feel for it. And if you've never done it before, you're probably not going to know when to start making that transition. But that's number one, because your relationships of what got you where you are. In terms of marketing, there's a million different things you can do for marketing to get the phone to ring. So you better be a good closer, and you better train your guys and teach your guys to be good closers. Always take responsibility. If they're not closing, then you probably need to train better or hire better. Is one or the other. But we use marketing, and the way that we view it is whether we're doing Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever we're doing, we are looking, and this aligns with what I've been saying the whole podcast. We're looking for the long term. If I get one customer from Facebook, and then maybe it costs me, $400 to gain that customer, and I build a relationship and I go perform a service for that customer, I'm now looking for 3 to 5 word of mouth, because word of mouth is always the strongest. So when you get one, get five. We
Hmm.
we we teach that over and over and over. Hey guys, if you're out and you get one, if you get one, get five. Who do they know?
Yeah.
Like, who are their neighbors? Who's in their neighborhood? Who
Yeah.
are some other what are some other companies that they know, or other people who may be seeking our service? And never be afraid to ask, because who can you take to lunch? And that's a big part of it. Who can you take to lunch? Who can you meet with? Who can you have coffee with?
Yeah.
Turn one into five. So Facebook is great, but the strongest is word of mouth. So even when you're getting something, don't ever rely on a conduit for a lead for your business. You
Yeah.
have got to be turning what that one that you got into five more. And you can turn around and repeat that with those five.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
word of mouth is always, always, always the biggest. It seems simple, and too many people get away from it in this day and age.
Yeah.
You Facebook and all of these items, whether it's your wrap on your truck or whatever it is to get your phone to ring, is simply a tool, but it's not the backbone of your business or your customers. It's a tool. Your backbone is going to be, how do I turn that into more customers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about lifetime value a lot, and your
Yeah.
ability to turn one into five can greatly increase your lifetime value of a
And
customer.
teach
Yeah,
relationships. We teach any new salesman who comes in, you cannot be desperate, because just like dogs smell fear, customers, and especially high end commercial, right? You're talking to a CEO or a CFO or a
yeah,
procurement manager. Those dudes smell desperate. a mile away, you can't be desperate. I don't care if you're tight and you need that one big sell to get the traction going. You can't do it. You can't be desperate. You can that because that turns into pushiness and awkwardness, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
that's a big part of it.
Jeb Blunt, who wrote Pinnacle Prospecting. I don't know if you read that book, but he always talks about how the pipe is life, right? So if your pipe is full, that usually turns into better conversion because you're not desperate. You're not like, hey, I need
Yeah,
this sale because you got a solid pipe. You're not that worried about it, which actually helps you convert better. It's like, yeah, it's kind
yeah,
of a little reverse, not reverse psychology, but just if you keep your pipeline full, great. Yeah, that pipeline's going to turn to way more money than if it's not full, right?
yeah.
So,
It sort of falls under an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the same vein. Like if you're rocking and rolling, you're
Yeah.
not putting out that energy, and because you're not putting out that energy,
Yeah.
yeah,
It keeps feeding. Yeah. So,
yeah.
all right. So next question for you. As you look back on your journey, which I know has some trials and tribulations we've talked before, what's been the most memorable or maybe the hardest challenge and how'd you overcome it?
Hmm. Um, Hardest challenge does fall into a very personal vein. I had been in one industry and I'd been coaching people on multiple levels and owned a few different companies, multiple gyms, and consulted and had a large income that I'd built over a 13 or 14 year period in the nutrition and nutraceutical space. Passive income. I dumped a ton of time and energy into it. And right before COVID, I ended up a single dad of four boys, full time, no wife. My house flooded, and then got a call from the my primary source of income and said, "Hey, good luck suing us, but y'all aren't getting a paycheck starting next month. We'll see you in court." And so my entire life was going one direction, and at the same time, all these things changed, and none of them were because of the other. That's what made it crazy, right?
Right.
My wife actually left before that happened at the time. She was just gone. I was like, "What's going on?" And then I get a call like a week later, literally a week later. I'm like in the middle of finding this out, and I'm like, "I've got four boys. The youngest has been breastfeeding." And I can't, I don't have one of those. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, that was the reality of where I was. I had a little child and three older brothers, and they're all wondering where their mom is. This one's like, "Hey, Dad, how do I eat?" I'm like, I don't know what to do, man. And then a week later, my house flooded. Boom, boom, boom. Pop, pop, pop. And the hardest part was the transition. What do I do next? How do I get started figuring out where do I go? Because I could have rushed into 100 different things. Because I had consulted before, there were a lot of people actually offering me jobs. Some of it out of pity, some of it out of, hey, let's get Chris like while we can get
Mhm.
him. But
Yeah.
I had to go, well, what's right? And also, I've got four boys. So very few things fit.
Hmm.
So lo and behold, I continued. I pulled out all the stops as an entrepreneur and figured out how to work from home and teach my kids because COVID hit shortly after that. And it was like, what in the world are we doing here? And that transition was the hardest part, being patient and trusting one step and one foot in front of the other because there were a lot of things I wanted to pull the trigger on. And in my past life, this was the biggest part where, I would say, you can attribute to God, the universe, the world, whatever you want to.
Yeah.
For me, it was God. It was very spiritual. He was like, no, wait. I'd always been ready, fire, aim. And I
Mm.
couldn't do it in that moment. It
Yeah.
was too dangerous. There was too much at stake. And I had to be patient and I had to remind myself of the tools that I had and then employ them because emotionally it was too much.
Yeah.
But I had to clear the mechanism and go, what do I know? What are facts? And this is what I tell even my kids and anybody I'm a business with. When things get hard, simplify. If you can simplify and front sight focus and keep it right here, sometimes it's front sight focus and sometimes it's stepping back and looking and then right back where you need to be. If you can live right there, sort of like Will Smith and Hitch, you stay right here. And I learned that simplify, front sight focus, and be
Yeah.
willing to sit back and notice and look at everything and then focus right back. But don't get distracted. What do you know to be a fact right now, and what do you know about yourself? And that was tough. And then transitioning into an entirely new industry. But I was just able to take what I knew and take the leadership lessons that I had learned and a willingness to always learn and take one step in front of the other and go to work. I hadn't worked for anybody for years, and part of that was I turned it on as an entrepreneur But then one of those solar companies hired me. Like, it was a good friend of mine called me, and he was like, "Hey, you got to come to work, man. I need you." He's like, "I got a dumpster fire." I had no idea how big, but that dumpster fire was my baptism into the industry. He's like, "You're a bulldog." I was like, "I don't know anything about solar." He's like, "I don't care." He's like, "Get in here." And I
Yeah.
dove in, and it was a year and a half of just fire, 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 fire. And I learned by fire. And I learned enough to be able to go, hey, and I'm still grateful to this day. And he and I are great friends. Name's Terry Miller. And what a great opportunity. And it was a God thing that led me to that. And then I was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the new industry. Because when you have 4 kids looking to you and everything you had built up until that point is all gone, as a man and as a father, you're sitting there going, what do I do to ensure stability for my boys to where they don't feel all of this
Mm.
and we can keep on trucking? And that was it. I know that's more of a story than a thing, but believe in yourself, understand the obstacle is the way, don't forget what you know, and then be okay going, hey, I don't know what I don't know. What do I need to slow down and learn here?
What do you think? So you said, hey, I had to stay patient. Like, what helped you stay patient? Or you said, hey, focus, kind of remind yourself of what you know. How did you help? How did you do that? Like, were you seeking outside like perspectives, or did you
Yeah.
like shut yourself in a room and like try to just, keep a lot of outside influence out? Like, how do you think you helped accomplish that?
So I guarded my inner circle very, very, very much. Very careful who I let speak into my life. And because a lot of people wanted to, friends, family, people I'd worked with before, acquaintances. I'd get random phone calls. Hey, Chris, I know what you've been going through, man. That's, just really had you on my heart, and I feel like God's telling me to say blah 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 blah. And there were times where I had to go, God's not telling me that, so I,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not hearing that, patience was it really was both. I mean, I locked myself down. I went into my cave as often as I could, which was hard with 4 boys. Um, but I would go into my cave. Absolutely. I would sit and I would think, and it felt really unproductive. That was another thing that God was teaching me because I had always been grind, grind,
Hmm.
grind, 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 grind. That's as a young man, that's what got me to where I was just go.
Yeah.
And God was like, he started putting something on my heart, and he called it because he speaks to me in terms, right? And I know it may sound weird to people, but I kept hearing calm intensity, calm intensity, calm intensity, and that really helped me. I'm like, okay, why do I keep hearing that every time I wake up? I'm like, what is this? What does that mean? Then I wrote it on my mirror, and it was, it's okay to calm, it's okay to sit, and I needed to. In that season of my life, it was, I wasn't going to be productive if I was just running with my head on fire. I had to be
Hmm.
very strategic and very tactical. Well, that took me sitting and clearing the air. I mean, some of my best ideas came on days where my kids would go to their grandmas, or when things finally settled and their mom ended up sort of kind of back. They go for a weekend to their moms, and I would have a day, of, and I didn't have a relationship at the time, just a whole day of like, I'm a million things on my list that I got to do. And I would be like, well, what would I normally do? I would go 90 miles an hour, and I'll be like, and I would feel God saying, no, sit, turn your phone off and sit and
Yeah.
let me go over the game plan with you.
Nice.
And I would sit, and dude, the best things came from those moments of silence. And sometimes for days at a time,
Yeah.
when I could. Very hard to do that, but it happened, and it completely changed my life, and it saved me.
Yeah.
And out of that, a phoenix rose. Not to be corny, but that's what it was. You know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only have a 1 and a 3-year-old, so I don't have four, and I think I know now you have seven. So
Yeah.
but
7 now. Yeah.
but having a day even with a 1 and a 3-year-old, let alone 4 kids, is a rare thing, and so I feel like when you have a day, it does many times feel like, man, oh my gosh, this is such a valuable portion of time. Like, what do I do with it? There's so many things I could do, and I could totally see where like sitting or like more or less like doing nothing probably feels
Yeah.
so
Oh, it's wild.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. Even now, it's a practice where I'll get going, and I'm stressed, and I'm 9,000 miles an hour, and it just feels so un-American
Yeah.
to sit and do nothing. But the statistics and the
Uh,
science actually if you're a
Yeah.
go-getter and you're already getting after it, it's like, no, that's actually what you need. You need
Yeah.
to calm down a little bit and
Yeah.
relax and clear your mind. And so much science is behind it now. It's like, if you can force yourself to clear
Yeah.
and just think of nothing, and then all of a sudden it'll revamp back up and you get
Yeah.
great ideas. Because a mind in chaos is not a creative mind. A creation comes from a mind at peace.
Yeah. We did a
Always.
we have a once a year conference Action Coach does, and during COVID we didn't have a physical. Everyone didn't get together. We did it actually at like a lake house up in Broken Bow. But anyways,
Right on.
we watched some guys do some different speaking, whatever they did, different topics, and one of them in particular, I made a video about it, and it was be bored. Like basically the message was be bored because, like what you're saying, when you're
Yeah.
bored, right, creativity happens. If you're always doing stuff, there's no sort of space for new ideas or
Yeah.
adding two to make four or whatever other new thing can come up. Like you're just always going. So you need the boredom. You need the, and honestly, one of the things they were saying was like you said, turn the phone off, right? Like
Yeah.
have nothing. Like just let there be nothing.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed at what might come from nothing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
pretty
A
cool.
journal.
Yeah. Yeah.
A journal. Something to write your ideas on. Put your thoughts out on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, glad you were able to get your way through that. And
Yeah.
obviously not, I don't think a lot of us have been through something like that, but can imagine how difficult that was. So
Yeah.
what about as from a team perspective? Obviously, teams needed to kind of serve a lot of people. You can't, there's only so much you can do individually, but what have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began in business?
Hmm. Let's see. I actually put a note down on that. Um, as an employer, a lot of that is hire right. That hire right. Have don't be afraid to put your own filter and DNA on exactly who you're looking for. And you either need to be prepared to find somebody who matches most of it and see and also test their adaptability before you hire them. Um, Ideally, sometimes you just can't. You need to
Yeah.
hire them, but they need to be able to adapt or be willing to bring someone on and in new and teach and train them and put your DNA on them. And for us, the core of who a human being is so much of it. So it can be tough because they need to have a few different attributes. I would say that we stay smaller so that we can pivot, but we also are a company of leaders. We when we hire somebody, we are thinking, even if it's a gopher on the electrical side, we're thinking, is this somebody we could build around eventually that could run their own team? Or is this somebody that could they possibly be someone one day that we could pour our time and energy and effort into that could not only be a great electrician, but a great leader, right? So our entire DNA is that, and I think don't be afraid to be that, and also don't be afraid to um, put those filters up front as an employer. Like, here's what we're
Hmm.
looking for. Here's what we want.
Yeah.
And then for us, I've got family. People always say don't hire family. I've got family that's worked for me, worked, and family that still works for and
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
Um, but family or not, it's patience, grace, understanding, and leadership, and being slow to boil with everyone, not just family. I think they say don't do family because it's easier to snap at your brother, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to be like, you idiot, what are you doing? Like, it's be calculated, be patient, and breathe before you react, and have a response. Don't react,
Right.
and don't be afraid to. You don't have to give your response right now. Sometimes as a leader, it's like, I'm very frustrated with what you did just now, but we need to we need to talk about this,
Yeah.
and we're not going to talk about it right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've had moments like that, but
Yeah.
that's tough. It is hard to find the right people whenever your DNA and your culture is highly important. But I think there's a reason it's hard. Just like we talk about anything worth building is probably going to be hard. It's going to have pieces of hard to it. Hiring the right people is not supposed to be easy because hey, anybody would be an entrepreneur and starting a company from scratch if it was. None of this is inherently easy. It can be simple once you understand it. And that's why you got to go gain understanding because now you can simplify the task in front of you and what it takes to win, but it's not easy, you know.
Right. Yeah,
So
we talk about it all the time, right? Simple but not easy. If
yeah,
it was easy, right, everyone would be doing it. So
exactly. Yeah.
there's a reason it's an opportunity, and that's because it's typically a challenge.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so as we wrap up here, Mr. Chris, final question before our final question. If someone wants to learn more about, the company or get in touch, how can they get in contact?
So they can look up Mojo Electric and Solar on Facebook. They can reach out to me, and they can either do that. If they message that, it'll come to me. They can go to our website if they wanted to, but then they would just show up like a lead. So I would say you can even find me, Christopher T. Smith, on Facebook, also on LinkedIn. You can find my link there, and it's with an F, not a PH.
Yep.
So it makes me a little bit easier to find because it's Christopher with an F, T Smith, and I do that because I have a super common name, Chris and
Yeah.
Smith. If you say
Yes.
Chris Smith, it's like Mike Tyson trying to say Christmas. Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super common white boy name. So yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
easy to find me.
Cool.
Yeah.
And any special offers you'd like to offer any listeners?
Yeah. So we have a free commercial inspection. If you've got a commercial property, that takes time. To come and do a full on inspection can take, especially some of these larger properties. I mean, it can take 2-3 hours. So free commercial inspection. If you've got a commercial property, we'll come do that for free. 10% off of your first quarter of maintenance, residential or homeowner, and 25% off residential solar panel cleaning and checkup. So
Boom.
yeah,
Man,
so
multiple offers. Love
yes,
it.
and that's through the 4th of July, or not through the 4th, through the month of July for the
Yeah,
4th.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, I don't know if this will
yeah,
be published by then, but
yeah. It's
cool.
like, hold on, we just
I
got a
like,
couple of days.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
nice. Cool, awesome. Well, Chris, thanks a bunch for all the insights and info and for being a great guest with us today. And appreciate you sharing your story and some of the details. And thank you to the audience, of course, for watching. And hopefully, if you found this valuable, make sure you share it with other folks. And until next time, we'll see you on the next podcast.
thanks for having me.
Thanks, Chris.